And I have to ask for disclosure. Does anyone have a problem with being recorded? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Thank you. We got you. So, first of all, again, my name is Jeff Spradley, Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce, filling in for Cindy Freeze. I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors this morning. Nothing moves without some assistance from somewhere. And uh, Trey Sorrel Dulce, uh, Ice Cream Parlor, and Mini Golf is one of our sponsors. We want to thank them, as well as Bavarian Bakery and Deli. I put their information right in the chat as well. Hopefully, for those that have not had a chance to stop by, go to our website and find out where they are, or contact me, and you can enjoy some ice cream and or bakery. It's a win-win. We still have some people coming in here. Okay. So with that being said, I would like to get started because this topic is a nationwide global topic. Uh, and today we have with us Miss Tara Diskin from Impact. Tara is the Director of Continuous Improvement with Impact, and she's here today to give us some insight, as they say, some inside baseball on this hot topic. Prepare your questions. There'll be a time at the end for Q&A. We're going to go right up till 10 o'clock, but there is no rental on this space, so if we happen to go over, that's okay. But right now, I've given co-hosts, uh, proprietary co-host to Tara. And Tara, if you like, the floor is yours.
I'll take it away. Perfect. Well, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me today as a guest. Thank you to the Chamber. It's definitely a hot topic, as Jeff mentioned. So I'm excited to just talk about it with you guys and hopefully bring some insights and open up a platform for you guys to possibly ask questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to get started because I do have a handy dandy PowerPoint. All right, can everyone see my PowerPoint okay? Should say stop wondering about AI, start using it.
Good to go.
Perfect. All right. Go ahead and get started then. So really quick introductions. Thank you, Jeff, for introducing me. I am Impact's Director of Continuous Improvement. I've actually been with Impact now this month for 10 years. So I've definitely been in this technology space for a while and have seen different technology trends up and coming, and AI is probably one of the hottest that I have seen. As a Director of Continuous Improvement, I'm here to help Impact and other businesses with just figuring out ways to do things more efficiently. I want to cut waste. I want to help automate things. I want to use technology to grow, but I don't want to lose that human touch, which is such an important part of the AI piece is how do you bring in AI without losing that human perspective? So that's a little bit about me. As far as impact, we are actually based out of Salisbury, Maryland, but we help businesses all over Delmarva. We do have a few across the bridge, but Delmarva is our specialty. We want to stay local and help local businesses. We help through AI and automation. We help with just managed IT, cybersecurity, phone systems, pretty much anything technology that a small to medium business may need. We're here to help them out with. So with that, I wanted to go over a quick agenda just to keep us on track of what we're going over today. First and foremost, I'm obviously going to go over what is AI and what it is not, some of the misconceptions that we might think of when it comes to AI, especially in a business use case. I want to go over some AI that you're already using without even realizing it. So things that you're not sure if you're going to be familiar or you're going to use AI quite yet, but there are some ways that you might be using it without knowing it. Another topic I want to go over is how some local businesses are actually using it now. Some free tools for you to try this week. Risks to watch out for. So obviously with AI, there's going to be things to keep an eye out for. Make sure you're using it properly. Set yourself up and your business for success. And then obviously at the end, best practices. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with what AI actually is. And I have this robot picture because a lot of people think of it as, robotic or a machine or things like that. And you're not wrong. AI is a software that is trained on enormous amounts of data. Think of it as one humongous computer. It's being fed information, anything on Google, anything digital that it can learn from, it's going to learn from. When you think of AI, there's actually a couple different versions of AI. There's the predictive AI, which is what learns patterns and predicts answers. So based on what it's learned, what it's been told, what it's been trained on, if it says, okay, the average weather for Salisbury, Maryland is 80 degrees on May, what's today? 13th, May 13th, and it's been 80 degrees for the past 80 years, then if I ask it, hey, what's the weather going to be like for next May 13th? It's probably going to tell me it's going to be 80 degrees because it's predicting a pattern. So again, that's just an example. I don't think it's actually going to be 80 degrees today. It'd be very nice, but I think it's supposed to be warm. But that's an example of the prediction that it's going to train and give you an answer on. The other one that you're probably more familiar with, of course, we're seeing it all over Facebook right now, is all the different companies that are creating flyers that you can kind of tell that they're AI generated, but that's generative AI. So it creates the new content from what it's learned. So you're giving it specifically, hey, I want these things, create this, and it's generating something for you. There's also things like, hey, I'd like to write this email. It's still using what it's trained on, but it's actually creating something specifically for you based on how you prompt it. But think of AI as kind of like an assistant, a very, very fast assistant. So obviously, some assistants are better than others, but this assistant has read countless books. They've searched every single web page possible, and they're at your fingertips to write you that email or write you that social post or ask it a question about your medical diagnosis that you're not sure about. So think of it like that. It is right now, at least, an assistant that you could use. But that also comes to what AI is not. So a lot of people, obviously, you've seen the Terminator. People think that, this is what AI could be. It's obviously going to take over the world at some point. I'm not here to say it is or it isn't, but there are a couple misconceptions when it comes to what AI is and what it's not. So first and foremost, it's not necessarily a thinking being. It's not going to have feelings or opinions. If you ask it something, it might say, "Hey, I think this," but that's because it's trained on what it believes you want to hear. It's not going to say, oh, I feel bad for you for that situation if you're asking it for relationship advice. It might tell you that because it wants you to feel heard and valued because that's what it's been trained to do, but it's not necessarily going to have actual feelings. It's not an actual human being. So it's going to help predict things, like I said, or answer things based on what it's learned, but it's not itself thinking. It's processing different vectors of information. So that's the first misconception about AI. The second is that it's actually not always honest. So, a good example that I like to use is I don't watch football. I could not tell you who actually won the Super Bowl this past year. But if I were to use AI and a specific model, so say I'm asking ChatGPT, hey, who won the Super Bowl last week? Say it was last week. If that model has not been trained with that information yet, it's not going to actually know that answer. It's going to still give me an answer though, because again, it's trying to predict what it was. So say, it was the Eagles and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Again, I don't watch football, so those might be horrible examples, but say it was those two in the Super Bowl and it was trained that those two were going to the Super Bowl. It might predict which one it thinks may have won and tell me. That doesn't mean it's actually who it was that won. So that's what I mean. It may not always be 100% honest. It is going to try to help you get to where you are trying to go. And it is all about prompting as well, which we'll get into a little bit later. But anything that you ask of it, whether that's, again, like it says, legal cases, medical diagnoses, things like that, it's always good to fact check it because it's not always going to be honest with you. The third thing is it can actually have biases. So again, because it's being trained a bunch of information, if it's trained on something that's biased, it's going to also include that bias. So if it's human written content, if it's a certain book that it's read, it's going to be processed as part of its thinking. and potentially give a biased answer. A study that was done actually with Amazon when they introduced AI into their resume sorter actually ended up sorting out a lot of women's applications because that AI model that they were using was training on past resumes, past employees, and because it naturally over time had been actually more male oriented, it itself formed a bias against women. Not intentionally, but obviously the company Amazon was like, okay, well that can happen. So we're gonna have to train it or back this AI up and not use it right now, fix it, re-implement it. But there are natural biases that can actually occur. And the last misconception, which I think is a worry as well for people, is that AI is not actually meant to replace you. It's an assistant, not a decision maker. So things that you're getting out of it, it is still your work. It is still, I made this PowerPoint, and I'll be honest, I used AI to help me create it, but I still had to put in the work to, tweak it here and there. I added the Terminator pictures, I added all my speaker notes, I still created an outline for which it needed to create this PowerPoint for me. It is still your work that you're putting into it. It is not meant to replace us. And obviously, I mean, I'm sure at some point there could be an AI generation of maybe even me that could be talking to you, but there's still a personable touch to this is that I'm using something, but I'm still talking to you guys about it. I'm still helping you guys understand this concept. So it's not meant to replace us. If companies introduce more AI, it's only supposed to help bolster their current team. They may not have to hire an extra person if they can offload some of the work to AI or automation, but that's not necessarily supposed to replace the human element of who we are as people and how we like to do business together. So those are the four biggest misconceptions. And I also told you guys that you're using AI without realizing it. And some of you may be already well into your journey. You're already using ChatGPT, you're already using Claude, Copilot, whatever it might be. You might even be using, the Netflix, hey, what do I actually look for? And I want to watch a drama movie. And it's using AI already to look at what you've already watched and things that you've already liked or things that you maybe hadn't finished. You started a movie and didn't finish it, which means you didn't like that one as much. So these are ways that you maybe have already been using it. If you have an iPhone and you have Siri, that's a very, small use case of, it's not quite AI, but it is. It's given its training and answering you based on what it's asked you. But other use cases that you may be already using AI for, your photo, face, and place grouping. Again, if you have an iPhone, I'm not sure if Android does this as well, but iPhone can group pictures based on who is in the picture. So I could, put my face and say, hey, what pictures am I in? And it's going to analyze all my pictures and use AI to actually give that to me. Other things, obviously, website chatbots, people are more familiar with those. Again, those are usually trained on some sort of knowledge base. That's their training that they get, that's how they can answer those questions. So there's actually quite a few ways that we're already using it without even realizing it. They're just very small use cases. I know we have a good mixture of people on today too. Even Clippy, if you guys remember Clippy, the little paper clip that Microsoft used to have, it's not quite AI, but even something like that where it was trained on, hey, if I'm asked these 5 questions, these are the responses I give. That's even almost an example of something similar to what we're using today. I barely remember Clippy, but I do remember Clippy. So, how local businesses are using it today, and these are actually ones based off of what we've seen. We use AI here as well. Obviously, if we're helping other businesses with it, we're going to use it ourselves and make sure that we're very familiar with it. I would consider our company an industry expert, so of course we're using it day to day, but we've heard other ways. We've helped businesses set it up and use it. So these are a few examples of how we're seeing local businesses use it. Some of them you're probably familiar with. Obviously, marketing, it's a big topic right now. Like I said, you go on Facebook and there's a lot of flyers that people are creating with AI right now. You can kind of tell some of them that are, ChatGPT generated. And if it works, it saves you time. By all means, why not use it? So drafting a week of social posts in 10 minutes, something that, you may have had to sit down and think about, okay, well, Monday I want to post, for us, for example, Monday I want to post about a new computer hitting the market. Tuesday, I want to post about a cybersecurity attack that happened. Wednesday, I want to post an AI topic. And I'm sitting there thinking of, okay, what is each day going to look like? And then past that, am I going to have to create a graphic to go with every social post or a small video? Or what does the actual content look like? And that, may take, if I was a marketer, that would take me quite a bit of time. Whereas now you can simply say, hey, this is the framework that I want to follow week to week. This is what I want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is what I want the schedule to be. I want the topics. I want you to research these things. It's going to take time to maybe set up that initial prompt, but once you have that in there, it's going to run with it and give you exactly what you asked for. Now, again, like I said, you're still going to process it, tweak it a little bit, add a few hashtags here and there if you need to. But the good thing about it too is, say you're a smaller business and you don't know that much about marketing, you haven't really, gotten that down yet. You can even ask it, hey, when should I post? What time of day should I post? Are there certain hashtags that will get me more recognition or more likes? Or how can I grow my social influence? Things like that. It's going to help answer those for you. And then you may not need to outsource your marketing. You may not need to hire a marketing admin, quite yet if you're able to do that. Customer service, reply thoughtfully to Google reviews. It's a simple way of saying, hi, I received this Google review. This is my company. What's a good way that I could reply to this? And then you get a second Google review. What's a different way that I could reply to this that's separate from the first one that still feels personable? So it's going to create those replies for you. Operationally, summarize contracts. So if you're getting a 40-page contract and you may not have the time or you need to crunch time, get that documentation prepared and summarized so you have a meeting in 10 minutes, you can throw a document into AI and say, hey, I need the summarization. I need an executive summary. I need a financial summary. It's going to be able to process that information through its systems and give you that basic summary. For sales, this is a very small example of simply briefing yourself on a prospect before a call. AI is actually pretty powerful. A use case is we're part of a few different chambers, but there's a chamber that does have their directory public. And so I was able to say, hey, here's the website URL for this directory. Can you please go research every single company on this directory for me and create an Excel spreadsheet of the name, the primary contact, their email, their cell phone, their address, a little bit about their company, whether they would be a good fit for our company to work with. And if that list is 250 people, I can't imagine how much time that would have taken me to go one by one to do all that research. Now, obviously, when you get that, you might send out 250 emails and a couple emails may come back not deliverable. You fix it from there, you move forward. But even from a sales perspective of doing that research for you, that list building is a great use case too. For HR, there's first drafts of job posting and employee policies. Even when you're looking at AI, there's certain tools, which a tool that I'll mention a little bit later. There's tools where you could potentially upload your employee handbook. And instead of your employees having to come to you to ask how much PTO time they have, they can ask their AI chatbot that the company has set up and says, hey, how many vacation days do I have? Well, based on your employee handbook, you start with 5 PTO days, 3 sick days, and 2 personal days. And they have their answer without the interruption of you stopping what you were working on, and you can continue working. So there's a lot of ways in HR as well. And obviously, just administratively, I think a lot of us use it for, email drafting. That's probably one of the most common ones that I've heard, just an easy way to get started with it. there has been many times where I've received an email and I've written out the email and I'm just like, this just doesn't sound quite as professional as I want it to, or as clear as I want it to, or certain things may not have emphasis that I want to. And so I can post the email and my reply and ask it, hey, can you clean this up? Can you make it sound more professional? And it's going to turn something a little bit messy into what I want it to be. And there's times that I get a response and I'm like, I don't know if I like that response. Let's try again. Or I don't like this about that response. Can you change this? And it's going to do it. And then there's other times that it gives me exactly what I'm looking for first try. And I'm like, this is fantastic. So, in every case, like I said, though, you're using AI as a tool in your tool belt. If you were to go build a house, you need a hammer, you need a saw, you need the tools, but the hammer's not going to build the house for you. The saw's not going to cut the wood for you. It's a tool that you're going to use to accomplish the goals that you're getting done. And with that, obviously confirming, hey, I'm using a hammer. Is this the best hammer for the job? So that's a brief overview of how we've seen local businesses using it today. So I wanted to go over actually a couple quick examples of what this would look like. So these are different tools that I have shown here per example. And I'll let you guys read more of this. Take a screenshot of the screen if you'd like to. But the first is in marketing. So Flower Shop is spending 4 hours every week writing Instagram captions. They are using ChatGPT, the free tier, and they're putting in this prompt. So we obviously had Mother's Day this past weekend, so I wanted to use that as an example. So write 5 Instagram captions for our Mother's Day arrangements. They gave their audience, they gave their tone, each under 100 words. They were very specific, ending with a call to visit the shop. So they said, hey, I want these specific pieces as part of every single Instagram caption that we create. So the steps is they pasted the prompt. They gave a few sample captions. They picked the two strongest ones, maybe a tweak here and there. And then they paired it with Canva Magic Studio. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Canva. It's a very, I would say, user-friendly platform to create graphics. They do have an AI option in that as well. And so she was able to put the captions and say, I need a graphic with this caption, and it helps create that for her. So instead of it taking around 4 hours a week, it only took 30 minutes that week. Next is the CPA office. So we talked about that documentation or contract handling. So the clients wanted a plain English summary of the contracts. Summarize this 40-page service agreement in plain English, highlight specific things, and flag anything that should be questioned. So they went ahead and uploaded it into Claude. You'll see that there's a brief note that it handles long documents well. There are certain AI that use some things better or better use cases than other things. But it was uploaded into Claude. It reviewed it, gave it a summary, flagged a few things, and then it actually sent the polished summary to the client for them. Obviously, Claude will ask, do you want to send this? And it can, as long as it's integrated with your email service. But it took that long contract. Again, it wasn't replacing the contract, but it gave just a brief summary that way that their client could digest it easier and better. And if someone from their team had to do that, it may have taken 2 hours for them to read the document, create that, and now it's 15 minutes per review. So even if they created a summarization template, they're still having to digest, okay, does this client have different payment terms? Do they have different termination clauses? Is anything different about this? Versus 15 minutes, run it through, good to go, sent. The last one is in sales. So this is a prompt example of what we talked about with researching a client. So they're showing up to bids unprepared on the customer's project. That was their challenge that they were facing. And they use Gemini. It browses the live web, so that's actually Google's Gemini. Research this company, summarize what they do, recent news, leadership, and any current projects mentioned on their website or LinkedIn. Format as bullets for a 5-minute pre-call review. So again, they would have maybe had to take a little bit of time to do that research and they may still do some of that research, but there might be things on the third page of Google's results that they didn't get a chance to look at that was really important and for some reason didn't show up at the top of their search. They could have been in a recent, chamber event where they had a ribbon cutting and you may not have known about it, but AI could help do all the research of their website, maybe their social profiles, and ultimately see that there was a few things that they could mention. Their result is that they have a higher close rate because their customers are noticing that they've done their research, they've put in the work to actually see what's going on and not just fly in blindly. So again, like I said, feel free to screenshot this page if you're interested. Things, prompts like this are written out very well because it's asking for the specifics of what you're looking for, how you want it done, and the format. So like the last example, format as a bullet list for a 5-minute pre-call review. It's very specific. So I talked about the tools on the last slide, and I've talked about tools a little bit throughout this, but I wanted to give you guys a list of free tools that you could start with this week. When we get to our Q&A, I would love to hear if people are using it already, how they're using it. I know that probably if you're on this call, you've dabbled in it a little bit or are using it pretty heavily. But if you're not and you're interested, I did create just a brief list of tools. ChatGPT and Claude are two of the mainstream ones that are happening right now. There's a lot of smaller companies, but obviously, ChatGPT is OpenAI and Claude is Anthropic. They do both have free tiers, and then they have obviously pricing per month if you wanted the premium versions. Things like Copilot and Gemini are very similar. And then there's Otter AI. That's an example of another tool that's actually for meeting transcripts and summarizations. A lot of these things have other integrations. For example, Otter AI may integrate into ChatGPT or Claude. That way you don't have to pull the transcript over manually. You can say, hey, I had a meeting this morning. Can you summarize it for me? It's going to do that work for you. So again, just a brief list. I do have a shameless plug at the bottom though. Impact is part of our offerings to our clients. We actually offer our own AI platform. It's called our Secure AI Chat. It's built for businesses to keep businesses safe and centralized. And what this does is it's actually one platform that offers several what they're called LLMs, large language models. A large language model is ChatGPT, Claude. It's a platform that it's running on and what it's learned and that model. So our platform actually includes ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, the I keep wanting to call it Savannah Banana Pro image generation, but the banana image generation. It offers all of that and it's business safe, meaning that it only keeps your data to be your data. There are a few risks to using these things, which I'll actually go over next, especially when you're using the free version. Our platform is actually entirely safe from the get-go, so you wouldn't have to worry about security measures. But the risks that I want you to watch out for when it comes to using AI, the biggest one is data privacy. Free tools, so if you were to sign up for a ChatGPT account, you're using the free version, I would highly recommend that you never put anything into it with social security numbers, banking account information, your company's secret sauce. If you do something specifically, do not put it in there. Free versions are by default trained to use that data to further train itself. For example, if your company did have a secret sauce, we do that this way, and you've put that into a free version and your by default your security data sharing is not turned off. What it could do then is say your competitor would ask ChatGPT, hey, how are my competitors doing things that I may not do or may not realize? It may not specifically say, hey, your company name is doing XYZ, but that model may now be trained on how you do that. And so it could say, other companies in your area are doing XYZ. So it's not going to be super explicit of, hey, this person's doing this. But the more you put into it, the more you're training it to give to other people, unless you're using a secure data shutdown platform. Usually paid tools are much better about it, but still look at what their settings are set to be, their default settings. Even if you get a paid version of ChatGPT, there is still a setting that you might want to toggle on to not share your information. So anything that you use, make sure that it's compliant, especially if you're HIPAA, which is the compliance section, healthcare, finance, legal, anything with HIPAA, FCC standards, government standards. I think law in general is still kind of catching up with this whole AI boom that's happening. So things in the compliance world are still going to be coming out, I believe. But obviously HIPAA. Don't be sharing patient information. Don't be saying, Sally Sue, social security number XYZ123, has these medical issues. That's probably not good to put in there. That's a HIPAA violation, and you could be fined for that. So if you have any compliancy needs for your business, definitely check the tools that you're using to make sure they're going to meet those standards. Hallucinations. I don't know if anyone has heard of hallucinations, but that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is that it can maybe make things up and it's going to sound really confident giving you the answers, but you still want to treat it like an employer where you might want to fact check what they're saying. Obviously, if you ask it, hey, what's 2 + 2 and it gives you 4, you don't need to fact check that because it's general knowledge. But if you really needed to know who won the Super Bowl, you could ask AI, but you might want to say, hey, give me a link to who won the Super Bowl, or give me an article based on who won the Super Bowl, or something like that to give you more faith that what they're giving you is the actual answer. Um, I will say there have been people that have used it saying, hey, I have these health symptoms. What do I have? And it's not trying to lie to you and tell you that you have something different, but it may not be the best use case. You might just need to go see a doctor because it could be giving you, obviously we're all familiar with WebMD. You put in 8 things and it says you have cancer and you're dying tomorrow when really it's a head cold. So things like that. Just be cautious of using it because it's again, it could hallucinate and give you something that's not a true answer. And then over reliance. So the more you use AI, the more you're going to want to use AI and you're going to become very reliant on it. It's an amazing tool, but I think if I went back to the building the house analogy, if you had a, power saw, it's going to do things a lot faster. You're going to be more efficient. If you lose power at the job site, though, don't be afraid to pick up a manual saw and do it yourself. So that's what I mean. Don't become over reliant. Like don't use it to write every single email. Don't lose your critical thinking ability. Don't you still want to exercise your cognitive and your decision making, your reasoning, things like that. Don't become too over reliant on it. If you think of it as an assistant, um, you're not going to give super high value tasks to an assistant. If you were to say, hey, I need to save this client account, this is what the issues are, this is what we've tried to do, are there other things that we can do? It's good for some advice or to just talk things out or maybe to get some recommendations. But if it says, hey, you need to do this one thing, that's great. Put it in your arsenal, but make sure you're looking for actual information. Don't rely too heavily on it. So those are the big risks that I would watch out for. So again, we kind of went over these things. As Jeff said, this is gonna be on YouTube, so feel free to screenshot these or pull up the YouTube video later and screenshot them. Treat AI like a smart intern. Never pay sensitive data. So again, social security numbers, finances, passwords. Passwords are a big no-no. Verify before you trust. Be specific in your prompts. So again, like I said earlier, what you put into AI is what you're going to get out of it. If I actually a good example I've used before too is I had asked an image generation tool to create me a picture of a dolphin and an elephant together, and it did just that for me. It was a nice beach. There was a dolphin, hopping out of the water, and there was an elephant standing right next to it, which was great. It looked fairly realistic for an AI generated image. But what I really actually wanted it to do was to create them as one animal. But because I didn't prompt it to say, give me an image of what an elephant and a dolphin would look like as one animal. I said, give me a dolphin and an elephant together. It gave me exactly what I asked for versus what I actually wanted. So that's what I mean of being very specific in your prompts. The more specific that you can be for what you're looking for, the better answer it's going to give you. It can't guess, it can't read your mind. So be very, very specific. Um, there's generally, you can find them online very well too, but there's a thing called the prompt boss. Jeff, I don't know if you want to post that in the chat for me if you don't mind. It's called the prompt boss. You can actually go to this website and it will help you create prompts, and it kind of has a format. What's your audience? What is the task? What format do you want it in? Kind of a checklist of how you should build your prompts. And the more you use something like that, the better you'll get at prompting. And they're called prompting engineers. So it's actually engineering prompts to get the best result from your answer, your question, or whatever you're chatting to a chatbot. Disclose where appropriate. So there are times that it might be helpful for your customers to know that an image might be generated, or their summarization is AI generated, or their meeting transcription notes is AI generated. Sometimes it helps just to be transparent. I think right now we're still in that in between of, do people actually like me using AI or not? Some people call and they might talk to an AI phone agent and they feel like that's impersonable, so they may not want to use it. So I think we're still in that in between, but I think transparency is always a good thing. Be transparent when you can be. And then write a one-page AI policy. So a lot of businesses may not have this yet, but just like you'd have a computer policy, hey, your computer is meant to be used for business only. You cannot browse gambling sites, whatever it might be, there's a policy to it. And the same should apply with AI. If you don't tell your team, hey, this is the AI that you can use and this is what you can use it for, they could potentially be opening you up to things you don't even know about. So if they're using a free ChatGPT account, but you've given them Copilot and they're putting your data into their free ChatGPT, but you didn't tell them they couldn't, then there might be a problem there. So I'd highly recommend writing a policy. And you can even use AI to start, hey, create me an AI policy that I can implement for my team. We sanction these tools, we sanction these use cases, things like that. That's going to protect you as well. God forbid there was a breach of information and that employee said, my company never told me I couldn't do this, then that still falls on you as the company. Obviously, if you gave them this policy, there'd still be some ramifications, but if you gave them this policy and they went against that policy and did something anyways, that now falls to them more so. So it's a protection both for you and your employees to know what they should and should not use. So if anything, that's one key takeaway from today. I would definitely implement as soon as possible if you haven't already. So if you haven't gotten started with AI yet and you want to, here's the three things that I would tell you to do is to pick a tool. I think a lot of people now aren't really sure what to pick. There's a plethora of tools out there, but just get started with something. I mean, even if you sign up with a free ChatGPT account and use it around your house, I have these ingredients and I want to make dinner. What can I make? Or, hey, I want to go to the gym today and I want to work my biceps. What's a good workout that I can do for 30 minutes? There's, just pick something and just start getting familiar with it. You're going to be training yourself a little bit by using it. So I think just pick a tool as long as it's company sanctioned. And then pick one task. So if you can start thinking, okay, if I had an assistant that I could give this task to, how much time would it save me? Think about that this week. What's one task that I could potentially give someone else to do for me and use AI to do that task? So whether it's an email or post a summary, if you say you're in charge of sending out a weekly newsletter to your team, hey, start using AI for that versus you having to write it manually every single week. And then use it 5 times. So by next week, you're going to know if it saves you time or not. You've picked ChatGPT, you're picking, hey, I need to send out this weekly email and use it 5 times. Just start with that if you haven't started with anything yet. Because that again, you're going to be training yourself on ways to use it. You're going to try it out and see, okay, this doesn't work. for me and I'm going to try something else. When it comes to picking a tool, again, there's so many things out there. The biggest things are to look for, obviously, does it meet your budget if you're paying for something? Does it meet your needs? Does it have certain integrations that you're looking for? And is my team going to use it? Is there too big of a learning curve for them to use it? What's something simple that I can give my team to use? So that's a couple things when looking for a tool. And again, the tasks, just think of manual things that you do every day. I think the most amazing thing when it comes to AI, and I had even experienced it when we started using it, is you're going to do something, it's going to do something really well. You're going to realize that it's going to save you time and it's going to click for you that this is a tool in your arsenal now that you can use to help you do your job better. You're going to become a better employee, you're going to become a better leader, you're going to become a better person by using a tool that's just going to help you naturally. Again, it's not meant to replace anybody or anything like that, but it is meant to enhance you, not replace you. I do have a few slides just as other resources from Impact, and then we're going to have plenty of time for questions. So I'd be happy to go over those, but really quickly, just a few resources. Impact does provide a free AI readiness assessment. What this does is it's about 5 minutes. You answer about 20 to 25 questions, and it actually gives you a score on where your business is at in its AI journey and how ready you are for AI. So it might ask you, do you have a policy already? Do you provide training on AI for your employees? Things like that. And this can give you a more of a concrete answer as to where you feel like you're at in preparing for AI for your business. So there is the QR code there or the website. Feel free to do that. Again, it's completely free. And once you get your results, it'll actually be emailed to you. It'll give you the categories in which you scored, and it'll tell you, hey, these are things that you could try, or you're not doing this yet. You should, maybe try this. So it's again, a free resource that I wanted to share with you guys. The next one is Impact actually hosts an AI Unlocked community call every Thursday. So our next one will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I am on those calls as well, but we go over with other business owners and teams ways that they're using it, things that they might be getting held up on, questions that they may have. We share some things that we're doing and for our clients. And so I think it's a really good way for as a community to just talk about it and for you guys to have a resource of someone to talk to about it. You can ask AI about AI, but we're still people and we're still working with it. So I highly encourage if you're able to. It happens every Thursday at 1 o'clock. So you could register now, and if you even if you can't make it tomorrow, you can make it next Thursday or the Thursday after. So please join us for that if you would like to. And then the last thing I wanted to share is Impact is actually, as I mentioned, we have our Secure AI chat platform. We actually have a an offer right now that you could get the entire month of June as a trial for that platform. Again, as I mentioned, it's a completely business safe platform. It offers many models and many options and features. So if you're interested in a free trial of an AI tool, haven't started with one yet, scan that QR code. You can also reach out to me. I'll post my information as well a little bit later. But again, it's for the month of June only. So if you're interested, please reach out to me. And with that, we're going to move into questions. So I did see a few chats come through earlier.
Yeah, that's don't let me.
Perfect. I see that. Okay. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask away. If you don't have a mic, you can post it in the chat.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm
I
available
can
for
recognize
questions.
if I see some hands raised as well. I can recognize. I'll just start off by saying I had about 11 questions, and I'm crossing them off because you covered so much, and you answered like 6 questions that I had. But of course, guests first. So if there's anyone with a question, you can just unmute and we'll race to the mic or put it in
Good
the chat.
morning.
Good morning.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Well, hopefully it's quick. I really, I'm very, very new to Chat GPT. I've been using the free version
Hmm.
and I work in data and analytics.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is I've heard a lot of people say they upload all their data into their AI and it spits out quick information.
Hmm.
How would I do that? Because when I look on Chat GPT, I don't see like an option to do that.
So, first and foremost, again, just caution you on what you're uploading to it, as long as
Hmm.
it's nothing, sensitive, as long as it's not sensitive data, then it's okay to. If you're
Hmm.
using the free version of ChatGPT, there should be a plus sign somewhere in the chat box
Hmm.
that you could look for. And normally, if you hit that plus sign, there should be a file upload option. So if
Okay.
you have like a PDF download of whatever data you're trying to look over, that's the
Hmm.
best way to do it.
Okay.
There are other options as far as possible integrations, depending on where that data is coming from,
Okay.
but that's not always offered too much on free versions. And
Hmm.
it's also, I'm not sure what you'd be trying to integrate with.
Hmm.
Um, but that's, I believe, the best way that you could do that is if you had it in a Word document, a PDF, Excel, whatever it might be, there should be a plus sign somewhere in your chat window.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do. I have a quick question
Sure.
because I'm trying to figure out how I would format it to do a summary of a table in the way that there's a way that I've been doing it myself for
Hmm.
years, and now I want some type of AI to be able. I'm very cautious because it has to do with medical records. I do disability law, and I
Hmm.
have to summarize a lot of sensitive medical information. So I was just wondering, was there any one of these AIs that you would recommend above another? And if um, there's a way that I could, I guess not 100%, but be more sure that it's not going to train on data.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, a shameless plug again, I would recommend our Secure AI Chat platform because it's built for businesses and use cases just like yours. It is SOC 2 compliant, which means that anything that your organization uploads will stay only as your organization's data. It uses ChatGPT and Claude to pull from, but it will not push to it. Apart from that, things like ChatGPT and Claude, if you were to have paid versions, they would have some security features. Um, I don't know if those two specifically say that they are HIPAA compliant. I'm assuming you have to be, if you're dealing with disability and medical records, you have to have some sort of HIPAA compliancy with that. So that's what I would say is actually search what their terms would be as far as HIPAA compliancy. And then as far as the table creation, if it's something that you're already doing and you want it to mimic it, I would recommend uploading an example for it to learn from.
Oh,
So you could say, hey, this is my table that I create. This is the format that I like it in. I want you to do the same thing, but with this data.
okay.
And that'd be a good way for it to replicate it. Something in our platform, which there are a few other options that AI can do, but in our platform, there's such thing as like templating your prompts. So you could set up an app is what it's called. You already pre-give it all the information that you want it to use every single time. So here's an example of this table. Here's the prompt that I would use every single time. And then you create a form that you might just have the file upload in that form or, simple, hey, this is the information I need. Here's the file uploaded that information. And instead of having to put that prompt in every single time and give it that example every single time, you templatize that process so it's a lot even faster.
Oh,
So something like that might be an option as well.
okay. And I did have just one quick question about your company because I wasn't sure if I was understanding. Would I have my own paid version of ChatGPT and Claude, or are you saying that would be done through your company?
So it would be through our company. So you would pay one monthly price and it would include the ability to use those models. So you wouldn't actually have a ChatGPT subscription or a Claude subscription or whatever subscription. It would be one subscription with us with the ability to use those models. So you
Oh,
wouldn't log into ChatGPT or you wouldn't log into Claude separately. It would be one platform one chat window and you could choose which one you wanted to use from that window.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So Tara, with that being said, where you said you could just you open up the window, you can choose which one you pick. Which AI tool is would you prefer over the other, or does it all depend on what you're trying to gain out of, or like it all depends on what your question is?
Yeah, absolutely. There's even in Claude, for example, they have three different options for like a model to choose from. It's not just Claude. There's Claude Opus, there's Claude Haiku, and the last one is slipping my mind for some reason. But the haiku version, as you guys know, haikus are very like short poems. And so their haiku is kind of quick thinking or quick reasoning. So if you were to ask it to do a super complex task, for example, what Karen had mentioned of, hey, I have this table and I want you to recreate it, that may be simple that it could do, but if it does require any complex reasoning, like, hey, create an actual summary of this data for me, that's a little bit more complex. So it's also kind of your credit usage and things that come into play there because if you have a paid version of Claude, you have X amount of credits to use, and once you've used them, that's it. So if you were to use the highest powered, high complex reasoning with adaptive thinking and all the options, you're going to burn up your credits a lot, even if you're doing very simple tasks. So that's why they've built a few different tiers to choose from, so that way you can do simple things and then you can do complex things. Um, Even when you're looking from tool to tool, it does also kind of depends on personal preference. I have personally found in using ChatGPT, it's very good for personal things, and Claude I have felt is more equipped to handle business use cases. But again, it's based on what you put into it, what models you choose, if you choose a higher deductive reasoning model versus a simple one. But if you play around with it, you're gonna find which one you like. Um, Again, I'm not trying to talk only about our platform, but our platform where it offers several options. We actually have an auto chooser. So if you put in your prompt and you turn that auto chooser on, it's going to choose the best model for what it believes it could handle for you.
Hmm.
So if it processes that real quick and sees that it's something simple, it's going to choose a simple reasoning model versus a higher complex reasoning model. So I feel like that was a long answer. I hope that answers your question. It is based a little bit on personal preference, but it is based on what you're doing as well.
So we would just go to your to Impact website and we'll find the link or the download for Secure AI Chat, and then we'll subscribe from at that point.
Yeah, so if you're interested in that, I have my email on the next slide. You can either email me. If you go to impacttg.com, I'll post it in the chat real quick too. Impacttg.com/AI. If you go to that website, it will pull up, there's a calendar scheduling link. You can either schedule time with me, or at the bottom, there's a form that you could fill out if you're interested. And like I said, you could email me as well. Just let me know before June 1st if you wanted to try that free trial, and we would help get you into that system.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Is it Dahlia? Not sure if I'm saying that right, but you said you have a question.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes, Dahlia, thank you.
Perfect.
Sonnet, I think, is the version in Claude, the
Yes, thank
last
you.
version, as that's the one that I am currently playing in. So started in Chat GPT personally, of course,
Mhm.
with then jumped to the email portion of that, and then purposely moved to Claude once the government got the Chat GPT contract, sorry,
Yes.
and they were going to pull the security features of that, so that was concerning to me,
Mhm.
which is why I started using Claude. What I have found with Claude and the paid version, I love the workflow. So when you were talking about the templating
Mhm.
apps, is that different than from the workflow in Claude? And for others, I'll say what I use workflow for. I'm an operations manager. I literally gather every Thursday a bunch of invoices to send over to our accounting team to get those processes. And I have to go in and out of a couple different places to do that, formulate it in an email template, get it all sent out, and then save it afterwards. And I was able to use that workflow in Claude to create that it's a very, very simple process now, and I'm not doing 10 different things. So I love that feature.
Yeah.
Your
Are you referencing, is it cowork?
I represent Delaware Prosperity Partnership, so it's
Okay.
a economic development for the state of Delaware.
Awesome.
And I handle operations part. So I love anything that's going to make my job and anything that's rote at this
Yeah.
point, even more rote. So
Yeah,
I like
that's
that auto
awesome.
chooser you were mentioned. Please
Yeah, absolutely.
expand on that.
Yeah, so I think I know Claude has the co-work feature. I'm not sure if that's what you're mentioning and
Yeah.
it's kind of scheduled for you. In our platform, it's a little bit different. It does depend on integrations. Like I know the Claude co-work feature has like a Chrome connection. And if you're logged into certain things and you had to pull it from like
Right.
Chrome that you
Uh-huh.
could. Ours is a little bit different. Our workflows are um do these certain steps in a row and compile this information for me. It is very similar. I would say I personally don't believe that it's quite as developed as that because Cowork can pretty much take over your Chrome and
Right.
click certain things for you. So it's not quite that advanced, but it is somewhat similar in it can do multi-step prompts for you. So if you had a prompt for, hey, go to this website and research this thing and then go to this website and research this thing and then compile it for me. That's the workflow options that we have more on our platform.
Okay.
Our platform is not necessarily going to automatically do something on your computer for you without you explicitly like we have a LinkedIn integration, for example. So
Mhm.
if I were to say, hey, I want to post this on LinkedIn, it could do that for me based on that integration. But we don't have like a Chrome integration to physically do something on a website.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. I like the auto chooser though option
Sure.
that you're
Yeah.
saying you guys
Yeah.
have for whatever task. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Our platform also offers image generation with that too. So even if you were to say, auto chooser on and I want to create this image, it's going to use something that can create an image. It's not going to choose haiku that can't generate an image for you. So I
Cool.
think it's a super useful feature just to, out of convenience too, just kind of turn it on and let it do its thing.
Great. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for your question.
Outstanding, outstanding. I tell you, Tara, the the breadth of information that you've given us today is just phenomenal. Everyone on this call has something in common. We're all on the same directory. Look each other up, share the information. At the beginning of this session, I put the actual website, and then Tara followed it up. So there's a sandwich in the chat with information on how to get in touch with Tara, because questions are going to continue once you start using it. Once you go to their website and find out what's going on, and you get more in depth with AI. So I want to thank our participants first of all because you guys were engaged. You had the questions. I had 7 or 8 questions, but going around the room, they were all answered, which is great. And in closing, because we are coming up on the hour, I want to thank you, Tara, for your preparation. That's not all AI. That's you. So we thank you for that um, continuously, and let's keep this conversation going because it's just starting really for everyone using AI. So let's keep the conversation going. Thank you all for being on. You have my information, which is also in the chat, so we can connect. And we'll probably see each other at one of our mixers soon. If not, we'll just stay in touch. But that will conclude today's coffee coaching session. I want to thank you all for being on, and let's not be strangers. Thank you again. Have a great
Thank
day.
you for having me, guys. Reach out if you need anything. I'm here to answer any questions even further after this. So feel free to reach
Fantastic.
out to me.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Have a good
Thanks,
week.
Tara. You were
Bye-bye.
great. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, Tuba.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Karen.
All right. Have a good one.
Cheers. Great job.
Perfect.
Great job. I'm telling you, here are my questions, and you were answering them. So
Yeah.
phenomenal job.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to go ahead and post everything, and we'll go from there. But
Awesome.
phenomenal job. Thank you, and I'll be in
Thank
touch.
you. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.